meantime, Germany's Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy has launched a program to provide support for established business with a focus on Africa. Political correspondent Thomas Sparrow has been explaining to my colleague Mamavi Owusu-Abuaje.
What does this startup support system actually entail?
Well, there are various projects by the German government focused on Africa. That's something that the G20 presidency by Germany also tried to focus on. And one of those projects is called Pro-Africa, which tries to promote more private investment in Africa. And as part of that, the German government held here what they call the Startup Night for Africa, where a series of German companies on the one hand, German young companies and African startups met to try and find common opportunities and common challenges as well. It was described as building bridges between African countries and Germany, although it is also important to say, if we look at the general panorama of startups, that when they try to expand, when they try to move to other countries, they also face certain challenges, for example, different tax or legal system in the other countries, or even language or cultural barriers as well. But the project, this startup project, was to try and find bridges between African companies and German companies.
And by focusing on Africa, which companies are eligible? Are these companies African companies based in Africa or those based in Germany?
There were 8 African companies that presented their projects that could possibly enter the German market. That was one side of the story. The other side of the story was 8 German companies that are interested in trying to enter African markets. And that's what they tried to present during that event here in Germany.
Thomas, finally, what's the connection between what is happening now and migration?
There is an indirect connection. The goal of these projects is, as I mentioned, to try and promote investment in Africa, try to improve the situation in certain countries, and by doing so, by improving the situation in those countries, by generating, for example, employment, or by creating certain organizational structures that could help the African countries, you are at the same time combating some of the causes of migration, some of the causes that would cause people in certain African countries to leave those countries and try and find better luck, for example, in Europe. So the project as such is not necessarily focused on migration. It is focused on building bridges between African countries and Germany, but it does have that other aspect, if you will, that by doing so and by promoting better conditions in Africa, you're at the same time fighting some of the root causes of migration.
Correspondent Thomas Sparrow, thank you very much.
Mamavi Owusu-Abuaje speaking with Thomas Sparrow there about how the German government is assisting startups with a focus on Africa.